All right, we are live, and the New York Mets are still undefeated in series. I'm just happy I can say that. We're not, there might be a tie in there, but that's fine. If you stay undefeated in series, you just keep it rolling. We are with our guy, Darren from the 7 line. And as it turns out, the 96ers are the pessimistic crew of the fucking Mets universe right now. Because what are you, the 102ers, Darren? Was that what your official line was?
Yeah, we got to pull a tape from the gala, but I'm pretty sure I said 102 that day, and I definitely stand by it.
I think you might have said 106. Let's keep going. 110, 115. Who gives a shit?
112, Mob Deep.
If you guys follow DeComo, after each game he does like the projection of like what they're projected, and I think he's still at like 110 right now, so we're still on point.
That's the thing, man. I mean, the early going is funny, where it's like what are we, like 18-8, and like that feels good. But if you take that same percentage and extrapolate, we would be over the fucking moon. It would be amazing if this kept up all year. I can't even fathom a world where this just happens like every week. It is wild how like what it takes to be 100+ win team. It's crazy.
I just love when I say shit like that, and Kev looks at me and he's like, "Are you bullshitting me? Are you serious?" Or is this like?
I was so down, man. That was the day of the opening day gala was like right off of the DeGrom news. I thought that we were going to have to be fully based on pitching. Didn't think that McGill, Peterson, and Bassett were going to all be like aces. I was like, we're going to win like 80-something games again. This is crazy. Like, what are you guys talking about? And then it turns out everyone's an ace and everyone can hit. I'm, as I've always said throughout my whole career, when I am negative Nancy and pessimistic, I am always happy to have egg on my face. Let the Mets prove me wrong forever, man. I love it.
Or Coors Light in your face, if you want to get baptized.
Douse me in the Coors Light.
Yeah, I saw some people got baptized at the Barstool at the park, but you didn't actually pour the beer in their face, so I don't know if that counts.
there was a security. There was like, I don't know if it was security or just like a vendor like standing pretty close by, so I didn't do it. But then he was like actively rooting for the Mets, so I'm like, oh, he's a cool security guard. So next Barstool the Ballpark, May 14th. I'll be doing baptisms. I'll do it the legit way, so you're wearing it the whole way home on the 7 line. And speaking of the 7 line, you guys have a event the same day, right? So we have the unification.
Dude, when those come together, oh, I love it.
Yeah, finally. I mean, it's never really worked out where, COVID and all that. And like we did have some dates that would have meshed. But now finally next Saturday, we're both going to be at the ballpark together. But you guys tend to go in early, right? Because your like drink special starts like way before first pitch, right?
Hour before first pitch, the unlimited beer starts.
Yeah, I mean, we'd start. It's a night game, so we'll probably be in the lot by like 3:00. So if you guys want to roll through ahead of time in the marina lot, it's like the most north parking lot from the ballpark. Hang out there first. Then if people are chilling with you, I'm sure they want to get involved in that drink special. So go in around 6. You could still tailgate for like 3 hours before that.
Ooh, baby! The Cohen's corner was rowdy enough without a tailgate starting 5 hours before first pitch. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. But against the Phillies, it should be we should be like raging hard again. So that's going to be a big day at the park. Those two forces combining. I mean, how many people? What do you have? Like 1,000 in center field?
Yeah, it's like 859.
So we have like 400 in Cohen's corner.
So. Perfect. So over 1,000 people hanging out. That would be sick.
Dude. And we're in like direct like eye shot of each other too. So you guys get rowdy, we get rowdy, and we're just fueling each other basically throughout the game.
Yep.
You guys got to get involved in the strikeout chant. So it's the easiest one we have. Just like, hey, struck him out, which people think that like we're biting off there's a guy named the King, Mike. He sits in the upper deck. He's been to like well over 1,000 baseball games, and he does the struck him out. And we kind of adopted that, but all shout out to the King. But if we all do that together, that would definitely spread throughout the ballpark.
I hate when people, sure, there's always somebody who invents a chant or a cheer or a thing. But the idea of those is for like the whole park to do them,
I've always put it on the scoreboard. That'd be sick.
I've always had a dream of being a big enough personality, and I don't think it's possible because as you get bigger, you also get more haters. But if there was like one person who could unify the stadium, like every game, like we're going to do this on strikeouts, this on home runs, this when there's 2 strikes, this when there's 2 outs, and just have like the greatest home field advantage ever. But there's just no way to coordinate everybody. So, but the more the merrier on these sort of things.
when it's organic, yeah, that works. But like, I don't know what you guys feel about like Fireman Ed or shit like that. Like sometimes people see that as cheesy too. Like if one person is kind of like involved in it or like in charge.
Once you become that guy,
you
know, there's always going to be some haters. But at the end of the day, like, you know, Fireman Ed kind of became a problem when he quit on the team and he talked shit and all that stuff. But if he was just a guy in the end zone on the shoulders doing the chant, I don't hate on that at all. But it is, you know better than anybody. Once fans start to, once they decide that you're in it for the money or you're a hater or a biter or whatever, it's just like, fuck it, whatever. Dude, root for the team, man.
I've been doing this too long to give a fuck anymore. 13 years, it's like, whatever. If you like it, cool. If you don't, whatever. Like, go take a walk, you know?
The one thing about fans, though, like that usually comes when the team gets down a little or maybe after the season's over. But when you're winning, everyone's happy and we're continuing to win. Again, split against the Bravos, which, I mean, we said on Monday's episode, we'd all take a split, like, happily, which – I was a little upset at us not pushing back and be like, no, fuck that. I want 3 out of 4.
We're getting, it's new, Clem. It's new. I'm not used to 110 win pace. Okay.
Yeah. And I said this on one of the podcasts. I think it was after the doubleheader sweep, which was like the highlight of it all. Like if you're going to win 2 games, let it be on the same day. And the high we had that entire night was delightful, especially
that second game was 2 hours and 10 minutes or something like that. So Kyle, too bad you weren't walking for that one.
He's like, I know. We're gonna talk about that. We got to do a little kangaroo court here today to discuss our performance in regards to the team, because Kyle's record on the treadmill, not great.
Wait,
we don't have your audio.
Oh no. I said I don't know. First of all, I want to get this clear. I do have a win under my belt.
1.
Yes, 1 and 3.
What? Yeah, but you won the first one. Now you're 0 for your last 3. That's a problem.
They suck on Wednesdays? I didn't choose Wednesday.
Stop walking on Wednesday. I don't know. Something up.
Do we want to jump into kangaroo court right now? Do we want to jump into it right now?
Everybody, let's get into kangaroo court. What do we need to do better here to get this team to the next level?
All right. So the Mets, for people, so Kyle does the walk, hashtag World Series walk, right? Yep. Every single Wednesday, walks on a treadmill, turns it to running for rallies. I mean, absolute psychopath shit. The only other person who's as crazy as you is that guy right there with the backwards hat, Darren. You two are the craziest fucking fans I know. I guess Frank the Tank would be the third of this unholy trinity. So basically, Kyle does that. He runs.
I mean, he does like 14 miles in a game. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, what was yesterday? Because yesterday was another long game. He also turns these fucking marathons. What was yesterday? That was the
thing. It was like we were on a great pace. I was like, yeah, it's 0-0, but we just got through 3 innings in an hour. Like, finally, my feet are going to be saved. Let's see. I think it wasn't the longest. I think it was the shortest walk by 1 minute, but I wasn't running as much. So it was still 14 miles. It's still
Jesus Christ.
We did the math because we talked about this on our show too. We did the math. You're going to do almost 400 miles this year.
Yeah. I would say so. I was already looking.
I haven't walked or ran 400 miles in like my life.
I'm at 56.91 on the season already.
That's insane.
I was already looking. I'm like, how far away is Philly? I could probably a halfway walk. Unbelievable.
But if they keep on losing, and not only that, I feel like, especially the day games, when you're walking, there's, I think 2 out of the 4 now, there's been like a meltdown inning. No, am I wrong?
So the Mets, the 4 games, they won the first game 9-6. Then they've lost 5-2, 10-5, 9-2.
Yeah, so the last 2 were absolute beatdowns. And even the 9-6 win was when the Phillies were like, they were coming back on us, so we were getting nervous, but thankfully we put it away with some insurance runs. But all these games have been a little bit dicey. So I'm not telling you stop. I'm just like,
it was never even my plan to just do it on Wednesdays. It just so happened like that's been my schedule. And I'm like, okay, it's a day game. I don't have to be up late, like whatever. Right. And like I was mixing in some night games because obviously more people can follow along at night, but they're not at work. So then this week, Wednesday's at night. So I was like, oh, great. Like it's going to be a night game. But if you guys don't want me to do that, then I can walk on Thursday.
Well, no, that's fine. Maybe it can be something as simple as no day games, or switch the day, or switch the treadmill, or walk outside, or like you just gotta, it's like when a football coach buries the football, or they burn a jersey, or whatever. You just gotta switch up the mojo.
But the team overall, we haven't lost a series yet. We're doing well.
That's true.
I'm gonna be the 1 game a week that they lose. I will gladly kill myself on the treadmill to guarantee that we're still staying in first.
Oh, so you're saying you're like the human shield. You're like you'll fall on that one grenade.
I'm just like, yep.
All right. Well, what do we think then? Are we looking at the games that he walks on, or are we looking at the overall season? Because right now, you're right. It's like, why switch up anything? We haven't even lost a series. Right. But what if we switch up your running, walking, we might be fucking undefeated right now. Who knows?
Yeah. He may be the reason we haven't swept the series yet.
Right,
about
right.
That.
You never know.
I do want to say,
when you're waiting online at like the grocery store and you're looking at the short line over there, and then you switch lines, and then the person in front of you has like a credit card issue, and then you're going, "Fuck! I shouldn't have got off that line."
That's a good call.
I don't walk on Wednesday. They're gonna win Wednesday, and they're gonna lose on Thursday. Like,
that's a good analogy. Or when you switch lanes in traffic and you're just stuck, it's like I know what you mean. Now, let me just say real quick, I mean, winning series to me is like the most important thing in the world, but I don't want that to become our new 4 games up where we get complacent. It's like if we there are teams that we should sweep. There are times that we shouldn't split. And I don't want to just hang our hat on like, well, we haven't lost the series, because it's also different when you earn a split versus when you could have had 3 out of 4 and you let it slip away. So like, even though we split yesterday, left me with a bad taste in my mouth because we could have stepped on the throats and had 3 out of 4. By the way, I don't know if, they're the world champs until they're not. So obviously beating the defending champs is always a thing. I don't know if they're going to be that good of a team this year. I'm not fully sold on the Braves, especially considering their World Series run was from 2 guys who are no longer there. I don't know if beating the Braves or splitting with the Braves is necessarily going to be something we should thump our chests about when we see like a few months from now.
I think it's good to catch the Braves now and early in the year when most of their guys aren't that hot. Like Acuna's just coming off ACL surgery.
Austin Riley is like nowhere compared to where he was last year. I mean, he's a Met killer, but he has.
Before the series, Matt Olson was also in a big slump too. Obviously had to throw in homer versus us, but he's going to get hot at some point this year. So we caught them at the right time, I guess, to split, and you would have liked the 3 out of 4, but you're not going to cry over a split, I guess.
No, I'm not going to cry over it. I also think there's something to be said for us getting hot too, because it's a weird spot right now where we're on this pace. We haven't lost a series, and I look around and I'm like, still a bunch of guys who I think are underperforming and could be better, and I think they will be better when the weather warms up and people get in grooves.
Outside of Jeff McNeil, I don't think there's one player on this team that's playing like their best baseball.
Right. So I mean, let's talk about this. I think the number one criticism I hear now is this hard hit rate. That's our second to last behind the Cardinals, I think it is, in hard hit rate percentage or whatever the fuck the stat is. Which obviously is not a good thing. You want to hit balls hard. But I also think that's a stat that you can look at. And if you're not watching the games every day, that has the connotation of like swinging bunts and broken bat singles and excuse me hits, where it's like, no, these guys, they're just not hitting home runs. They're going the opposite way. They're hitting situationally. They're using all fields. It's clutch. They're manufacturing runs, which is what like every team, every fan base always wants. That's what wins championships. Whenever a team gets bounced in the playoffs, it's because they were waiting for their big home run and it never came. Fans are always begging for a team to have clutch hitters who go with what the defense gives them, yada, yada, yada. We have that, and it's now all of a sudden a negative thing. And I don't know, Darren, I feel like you could probably attest to this. I feel like the Mets are a team that people should like in general. Like when a bad team finally performs, usually the rest of the league is kind of like happy for that team. Whether it's the Browns in football or like if the Pirates got good, it would be like, oh, what a good story because the diehard fans are finally being rewarded. Whereas with the Mets, I feel like people want to hate them and are always looking for a reason to tear them down. And right now it seems to be this hard hit balls thing when it's like, hey, listen, this group right here knows better than anybody. Contact will win you games every fucking day as long as you got good hitters, professional hitters doing what these guys are doing. But I just don't understand the hate, and I don't understand grasping at something like, hey, all your guys are just, contact hitters, solid professional hitters. That's a bad thing now?
I don't think we're going to get the benefit of the doubt from here going forward when everyone in baseball and other fans know that we have Steve Cohen willing to give away $40 million for like Cano or whatever. I don't think anyone's going to like look at, oh, poor Mets or like, oh, we should get behind.
That should be like
or our
I'm
fan
not
base.
saying
You know,
they should root for us, but it should be
yeah.
good for you guys. You went through this shit, and now you got rewarded with the best owner in baseball. Like, good for you. But instead, it's like, no, we're gonna find a way to discount it or talk shit.
We're going to be the only ones that appreciate that. You know,
Right.
that's just the nature of it. You know what I mean? Like if like the Marlins start being, you know, a force or whoever, or the Athletics or something, maybe we could say for their fans that, you know, what kind of fans that they have. I don't know how strong the fan base is in Miami. Certainly they don't go to games, but you know, we could be like, you know, finally, like good for you guys, you know, but you know, I don't think that anyone's looking at this team from the outside being like, oh, you know, good for the Mets or good for their fans, you know, like it's just the nature of it.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't either. I'm a hater.
I said, you guys may also, you guys may also be forgetting our owners work $14 billion and we're like towards the top of the league in payroll. It's not like we're the little engine that could right now.
No, I'm not saying that we should be like loved like the underdog Cinderella story. But just like let them enjoy it because they went through what I believe to be like the worst run in baseball because of what we could have been. You know, the Pirates and the Marlins never could be. We always could be and just never were. But you're right. I'm not going to worry about other teams liking the Mets. That's not.
We're also the last team in the division to not win a championship. Like the Marlins have 2, and they've been to the playoffs 3 times. So like that, it's like.
Yeah, no, that makes me want to die. That makes me want to die. I never thought about that until right now. That makes me want to die. Holy shit. That's like me being, I'm like the last poor bastard at Barstool to not win a championship. It makes me want to die. It's the worst. Lonely down here at the bottom. Fuck.
It's, but that like, this is the thing. I also think that there is like the vocal people that are going to tell you, especially Phillies fans, Yankees fans, they're going to be the ones saying, it's only April, it's only May, it's only June. They're going to keep going down the fucking months because they can read a calendar. But just from like the outside looking in, like when Sterling sold the Clippers and Ballmer came in, I was like, oh, that's going to make a difference. And they haven't won a championship, but the Clippers are not a fucking joke like they were for years and years and years, right? And that's kind of what I aspire to be, the better version of the Clippers.
And I mean, we always reference the Dodgers. It took the Dodgers a while to get over the top. They were contenders for a decade straight, but it still took them 10 years to make it to the promised land. So
and that ring also came in a COVID season, so I don't even count that. So,
bro, are you kidding me? I'll take any fucking ring I can get.
It only counts if it's us. That's my mentality.
If we could play a 15-game season, and if we win the championship, it counts, man.
We were celebrating MLB The Show last year when the Mets won.
Yeah,
remember? That was fucking sad.
Right.
Listen, we're not getting any younger, so I want to at least appreciate it and enjoy it when it actually happens. You know? Yeah.
Are we putting any stock in this hard hit balls thing though? Like, you do need to hit home runs. We do need, Pete to become that 40 home run slugger. He hasn't been that right now. I think he will be. I think balls are dead. I think that there's been an odd amount of balls that are like Lindor hit a ball yesterday that I thought was like way gone. And I think the wind knocked it down. McNeil gets robbed. I think a couple of these things, either dead balls or cold weather, and then we're somewhere right in the middle of the pack instead of at the bottom. It's so early. But that being said, part of me sometimes does get worried. It's like, I don't know whether it's a good thing or something to worry about, that in order to score our runs, we string together like 5 hits sometimes. Sometimes I'm thinking, like, in the playoffs, are we really going to have these long, sustained rallies where everybody gets a hit against the best pitching? Or is it better to just, someone is going to hit a home run, and that's how you're going to score your runs? Obviously, a blend of the two is the best, but...
So I think right now this is just a lineup that's playing to its strengths. Like everybody's like, no one's like outside of their comfort zone. You don't have guys that are contact hitters trying to swing for power going for contact. Everyone's doing like their own little thing. And the whole thing with hard hit rate, the Mets have the most, like, they make contact more than any other team right now, pretty much. Like they're like towards like they have the lowest strikeout rate, like 6th lowest strikeout rate, like something very low like that. And if you're constantly getting runners on or lead the league on base percentage, you're getting runners on, you're making contact. What's that going to do? You're likely going to score runs. So,
right. Yeah, I guess, I'm pretty sure our team batting average, runs scored, on base percentage, runners in scoring position are all at like the very, very top of the league. Yet everyone in baseball is deciding to focus on the hard hit ball.
They want to point to a regression. Look, is this going to be a top 3 lineup all year? I mean, I hope it is, but probably not. Is this going to be a top 10? I think it very easily should and can be.
But I guess my question is, is it more likely like I'm not overly impressed with what they're doing, where I'm like, oh, there's no way Marte's gonna keep legging out infield singles. He's probably gonna keep doing that.
Yeah.
They're not doing
But that's what he does his whole career.
not doing anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
What they are doing is they're all doing it exactly at the same time together, and maybe that stops. But there's nothing going on offensively right now where I'm like, yeah, listen, there's no way we can keep this up. I don't.
And the other thing they're doing is when they see a shift, you'll see guys go against the shift. They'll find the open hole against the shift. That's not being lucky. That's just being a good hitter.
And that's what every fan base is always yelling about, at least the old men who are calling up WFAN. What we need is guys who are going to go the other way against the shift, but they're not wrong. And there are times where it's so infuriating when you see sluggers just continue to pull the ball into the shift, and it's like, there was a whole field for you there, and we're the team that does it, and somehow it's being construed as a bad thing. I'm like, all right, if all of a sudden using all fields, driving in runners, manufacturing runs, and being clutch is going to be considered bad, well, then I throw my hands up.
After last night, JT Real Muto hit a fucking, I thought it was 10 rows deep easily. And it was, I don't know if he even made the warning track. And they had like between his exit velocity on his bat and like the launch angle, all the fucking nerd shit, they're like, that ball goes out 1,000 times out of 1,000.
Like the only person
these
ever
balls,
home run.
These balls aren't dead. They are rotting. The fucking their worms have eaten it. It's nothing in the fucking casket but dust right now. These things are rocks.
I mean, there is enough evidence that we believe that, right? That's not
Yes.
like conspiracy.
No, it's 100%. It's not tinfoil hat. It's not a theory. And Clem also is Reese Hoskins. Like in the ninth inning, hit a ball dead center field. Like
Hoskins,
XBA expected batting average of like 900. Should be a home run like 99 times out of 100. He has his arms up thinking he fucking walked it off. It's like an up can of corn center field.
Yeah, I mean, so there's got the same way that when the balls were flying out of the park, I don't get, why don't they just make a ball in the middle? What is going, like, why are they doing this? And if anything, they should go back to juice because that's what brings in fans and that's what gets highlights. Dead ball is for a league that's already struggling with the future and yada, yada, yada. Why are we doing this dead ball thing? It's fucking insanity.
I prefer this brand of baseball because this is something where you're not going to go into a power drought and like it's benefiting us right now. But at the same time, in yesterday's game, it's 0-0. And in the back of my head, I'm going, well, the Braves hit a ton of home runs, so we can play as well as we want, but they're just going to hit a fucking 3-run home run and then we're going to get cooked because we don't have like twice. And like, I'm not saying that he's like a garbage time, like stat padder, but Alonso had 2 opportunities when we needed runs, and he didn't get it done. And then the game's fucking a blowout, and then he hits a double and gets an RBI. And it's like, okay, great. But, like, if we're not hitting home runs and you're not optimizing the 3-run home run, like, super stat, we're going to run into trouble down the line when all the other teams start getting hot.
Right. That's what I do get worried about. It is can these rallies that have been so long, I mean, it's been so long since I've watched, 5-6 hits in a row strung together, and it seems to be happening a lot.
Yeah.
And is that something that stops? Are we lucky right now? Or is that just like, no, these are professional hitters that are going to do that?
And that's how the Braves had their rally yesterday in the sixth inning. It was like, okay, infield hit for Riley, up, little flare to right, up, little flare to right, up, little flare to right, up, walk bases loaded.
Cardinals' big inning was the same exact thing.
It's not like we're not even getting beat off home runs either. It's the same way we do our hitting. It's just baseball now.
Right.
Yeah. Darren, what was that bobblehead you just grabbed?
I know you got something up your sleeve.
I was thinking about, I was like, well, good thing these balls weren't used 6 years ago because this moment would have never happened if that was the case.
Big Bartolo, that is a fair fucking...
Dude, this is almost to the day. This is May 7th, 2016 was the Bartolo home run.
I still believe, I think the ultimate reward one day for your fandom will obviously be a World Series. But to this date right now, the fact that you guys were in Petco for that is some sort of divine intervention that was like, these guys all deserve this moment right here. Because what are the fucking chances?
Yeah, and that kid that got the tattoo, even crazier.
Right.
But yeah, we were also in Miami. Our Miami outing was DeGrom's first ever win, too. So that was pretty cool to be there for that.
That's great, yeah.
But yeah, it's going to happen one day.
It's like a World Series, you guys will get your, that you're going to be at a game, right?
We were there for every playoff game in 15. Like, we worked it out with the Mets. We were there every day,
That's something where, it's not like going to be like a fluke, like, oh, we happen to schedule it the day that we made the World Series. You'll know that. But a San Diego, random San Diego, everything that had to align from you guys being there to it being a Bartolo start to, it is, I know how big of a Bartolo fan Meek is. It's your one shortcoming. I don't get it.
I liked him in 2015. It just kind of wore off like after like 2017.
Or what off?
Well, yeah, I mean, eventually. Huh?
I said, wore off what? And I would take him on the team right now. Dude throws strikes.
That was what was bothering me. When we had a garbage rotation, be like, "Oh, give Bartolo." I think Bartolo's fucking washed too. So
remember,
he does throw strikes, and right now,
didn't you interviewed Yelich and Bohr back in the day, and both of them were like, "That's the one dude I don't want to face because I can never figure out where the ball's going."
Yeah.
You interviewed him in 2016. That's when he was good.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, when I look at when we saw Ty Walker show up looking like the second coming of Big Sexy, it's like as long as we got some of that jelly, some of that jiggle, we'll be fine. The bullpen continues to worry, though. I mean, I appreciate a gamer, and I appreciate someone who's out there pitching to like stay on the lineup, stay on the team. If you're hurt, you can't go out there, bro. Trevor May, I love you, dude. You're like very, very injured. Like it wasn't like, oh, shoulder soreness. It's like shit is broken, dude. What are you doing going out there?
Yeah, that was tough, man. And I don't want to, I'm not happy he's hurt, but like at least there's a reason behind it. He just isn't washed, right? And you saw when he was like, that was such like a true video. And we had Trevor on the show and he was like very open. He was like, I fucking suck right now. You could just see it in his face. We're gonna have to back like that is an important position as we learned yesterday. That other guy, especially a righty, I think they were maybe saving Shreve for the next inning and get some lefties or something. But you're gonna need to have another righty that can come in because Drew Smith is gonna be just like he's not gonna have an arm by July at this point. He's pitching the biggest 2 innings every time he's fresh. Obviously Lugo and Diaz kind of completed, but you need to have that fourth guy. And the fact that he's hurt. And did you see he was mixing it up with Frank the Tank the other day?
Trevor May was
like in a good way, actually.
Oh, good. I know he's done that before where I know that he hates when Frank is a negative asshole, but they always come to some sort of like middle ground and he's doing his best to try to like be a good like interactive player with the fans. But what did he say to Frank?
He basically like there was some troll going at him and Frank chimed in and was like, hey man, and Frank was like, I just like that you're honest. Because that's the thing. Yeah. Like how many of these guys go out and we've said it a million times from fans, it drives you crazy when you know the guy's hurt and he sucks and he's ruining your day. But these guys kind of have to keep going because it's like once you go on the DL, you may never come back, or you're just hoping. You almost don't want. It's like you don't want to go to the doctor because you don't want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah,
right?
If they don't tell you, it's not real. It didn't happen. It's like having an STD. If you don't get the test, you don't have one. You're fine.
It's just some healthy burning going on down there. Nothing to worry about, right? And I feel like Trevor May was in the same spot. But anyway, so the troll was going back and forth, and Trevor May basically told him to fuck off. But he said, "Frank, for you, anything," because he said, I like that you're real. Come back, get well. And I think 8 to 12 weeks, which. I mean, that was longer than I thought it was going to.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's like, I think it's something broken in his forearm, right? Or something like that. I mean,
he has a stress fracture on his funny bone, stress reaction on his funny bone.
On your funny bone?
Dude, yes.
I mean, that guy, evil. Like, thoughts and prayers. That is brutal.
That is sending straight pins and needles to his fingertips while he's trying to, like, break off an off-speed pitch. And then you realize why it wasn't sharp.
But that's also, I feel bad. I don't want the guy in pain, but I'm also like,
say something.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
of course you got absolutely shellacked. Like, what are you doing, man?
I would not expect him back till second half at best. So
yeah,
that's some like mafia shit. It's like you want to really hurt somebody, like you shoot them in the kneecaps. No, break their funny bone so that they just have the funny bone feeling in their hand at all times, man.
Now, part of me though, I mean, the bullpen has been so weird. In the beginning of the year, I thought like this is going to be our undoing. Like this is the worst we've seen in years. Then they went on a really solid streak. And now, I think you got to use the month of April the way they did, where it's like you want to win games, but you're also trying to feel out your team and see what you got. And I think, we've seen like Drew Smith, as long as we can limit those innings in some way. We know what Diaz is. We know what Smith is. We've seen Shreve be good. Ottavino we obviously know we can't use him as much as we've been using him because he ran out of gas. We know that, so I think we've like figured what I do like is that I think we all can agree. And I think this time around, what fans think seems to be aligned with what like management and ownership thinks is that we got to go get like something has to change. They went out and got Shreve and Ottavino and they did make their moves. It's not working. We're going to call some guys up. We're going to make a move. What are we going to do? Plus with a couple injuries, you almost have to. So I'm just happy that like, I don't think it's like, well, this is this is all we got, and we just got to rely upon the guys we have here. I think they almost have to juggle it up, whether it's because of injury or bad performance at this point, right?
I think we absolutely know that they will. I mean, look at like I brought up before with Cano and Cohen, like cutting the $40 million. For him to say make the best baseball decision for this team, I don't think he's going to let this perfect opportunity slip through the cracks. You know what I mean? Like,
in years gone by, I think it would be like, sorry, this is all we're doing.
No, are you kidding me? Cano would be out there every single day. Like, oh, we owe this guy $40 million. Like, he's playing every day, you know, and clearly that's not happening. But let me ask you this. I know we kind of moved on already about like, you know, it's only April, it's only May, whatever. I'm not saying like I want them to lose by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like losing here and there, but still winning series, I feel more comfort in that to say like this team is good rather than starting 11-1 and having 100%. Mickey Callaway or whatever, you know, like it's because that's fluky, you know, like we know the team is good, you know, this is a good team, you know, so I feel a little bit more comfort in that.
I know that sounds so stupid. I was thinking the same exact thing though, is like, this is just, again, we're not playing up to our full potential. We're not doing anything that is out of the ordinary. It's not like Janko has like 9 home runs or something that's like, we know this is going to stop. Everybody's kind of playing their role. And I don't see why this won't continue at least somewhat in this range. Even the way the Yankees are playing, like lights out, 11 in a row is just like, you know, that, you know, because of just the way baseball works, you're going to even out somewhere along the lines where I would rather stay steady than ride the roller coaster like we've had in past years. So yeah, it is kind of bizarre to like not want to lose, but just want to keep it realistic.
Yeah,
you know? And I do think losing here and there makes management be like, you know, we're not done here. We got to make some moves. We're not a full complete team. Because if you're winning, you know, 10 in a row, you're like, we're good. The fans are good. Nobody, you know, whatever. It's like, no, there's still work to be done on the field and off the field. Yeah,
and when the Mets get back to Citi Field next Friday, I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that they win these next 2 series. So it's like, all right, they split this past one, but then they're going to Philly. There's 4 games coming up. Then they're going to DC. So it's like, why can't they come back next Friday? What is that, the 13th or something like that, in mid-May, and still haven't lost a series? Yeah. You know,
we're not catching Zach Wheeler this series again. Like the way the schedule has panned out for us too has been like pretty beneficial up front. If this is what we're going to do.
We got Max tomorrow night, I think, right?
While also acknowledging, at least it was a couple days ago. I'm not sure about now. I believe we statistically had the hardest schedule, at least in the National League, maybe in baseball, according to
something close to that.
Yeah. So it's
even if it's not like by record, you can look at the teams like Giants, Braves, Phillies, Cardinals, like all 4 teams expected to win. Like we've played them all, and we have
So I mean that to me is like, it's not, none of it's really a fluke when you look at how, you know, who we've been playing. And to me, I'm all about these series wins. Some people make fun of me for that. I was chirping with the Phillies fans. It was Tommy and Chris and Shane Gillis and all those comedians that I brought. And they're like, who the fuck cares about regular season series? Like nobody talks in terms of series wins unless it's the postseason. And that may be true, but to me, I live my life 3 games at a time, 4 games. Truly, genuinely. That's my Dom Toretto. I live my life a quarter mile at a time. I legitimately live my life 3 games at a time. And when we take 2, I'm a happier person. When we win, I say, I walk in every day with Pavs. I say, I love winning the first game of the series because it just changes the whole complexion of the week. And if you're going into game 3 with the possibility of a sweep, you're playing with house money. If you lose it, it's okay. I mean, to me, that if you just win series, you will be a successful team. So whatever, maybe that's just like me and Mets fans right now, but that's the way the sport is constructed. I think that's what's cool about baseball is the way you have these little mini showdowns, and as long as you keep winning those, you will be successful.
Well, it's like what your brother put out, Kev, a couple of days ago, like the tweet he put out, like, oh, well, when is it good enough? You know, like beating this team, beating the world champs, beating this guy, that guy. Like, let's just appreciate it. Like the team is good. Let's deal with it, you know?
He really nailed it because he listed everybody out. Let me read it out because it was like so on the money. Other than the world champion Braves, the 100-win Giants, the wild card winning Cardinals, and the offensively stacked Phillies, the Mets haven't beaten anybody good. You know, and I'm hoping that the Phillies continue to be a disappointment. I'm hoping that the Braves aren't a defending champ that's worth their weight. I'm hoping all these guys in the division are bad, but right now, there's no reason to think that those teams aren't like solid W's.
And hey, the Diamondbacks have been a little bit of a pain in the ass. They took 2 or 3 against the Dodgers. They swept the Marlins.
The Diamondbacks are a 500 team.
Right.
It was good taking 4 or 6 from them.
Down the road, we're gonna end up being proud that we beat the Diamondbacks, not the fucking Phillies at this rate.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, the Cincinnati Reds, they have 3 wins on the year. They're 3-21. 2 of those wins are versus the Braves.
Right. The Reds. I don't know much about them, but I don't.
It's Wilpons. They basically have a Wilpons as owner that just got rid of all their good players and laughing at the fans.
I didn't know that they were like that barren of talent. Did they just have nobody on that
There's
team?
literally nobody. Yeah, maybe like 5 MLB players.
I remember there was a while there. Our t-shirt guy Welker is a diehard Reds fan, and he was always talking to me about prospects and trades and some of the studs they had, the Vottos of the world, and all that shit. And it was just never materialized. And now, I mean, that is Darren. What's the worst record they've had under like your reign, if you will?
Whose record?
The Mets. Like, I'm trying to think of like if we had a 125 loss team, what would you in the 7 line do?
I don't know, but you were just talking about Cincinnati. Did you hear the quote from their owner? He was basically like, "What are you gonna do? Where, like, to the fans, like, where are you gonna go? Seriously,
I almost respect that. That's
what he said to them. He's like, "Yeah." Well, he's like, "Where are you going? Yeah, okay, we're still like, this is how I'm gonna operate the team, and you're not going anywhere." But it's insane when you think about like our stretch, because I started this in 2009, and the team didn't have any success until 15. But every year, our group was growing. So it's like, well, people just like the community, like with you guys, like hanging out and bringing people together at the ballpark. It's like that shit's infectious. So it's like when you finally do have something to cheer about, you're like, wow, like almost saying before, like the loyalty pays off of like the years of shit finally pays off. I don't know. Honestly, I feel really bad for the fans in like the Athletics. Like they raised ticket prices this year before the season started. So like
that is a slap in the face.
Like by a large percent, and then like they got people to renew, and then they just sold the whole team. So it's like I don't blame them for sitting out and kind of doing their own boycott and not going to the ballpark. But when we get there in September, I'm not joking about this at all. We might outnumber the home crowd because we're going in September, end of the season. By then, like clearly they're not going anywhere.
That would be unbelievable.
I think I have 2,000 seats reserved, and that's like what they're averaging. Less than that, I think.
They must love you right now. The Reds ticket people must be like, get the 7
line.
No, not
here. Reds. No, Oakland. This is Oakland.
Oakland. Oh my God, that is crazy.
Yeah, we went to Cincinnati a couple years ago.
We have a couple home games on a West Coast swing. Like everybody owes the 7 line a debt of gratitude. That's the case. We all know how much we hate those West Coast swings.
So Oakland and the Rays had a game with like less than 3,000 fans. I feel like the 7 line's probably gonna have an outing with more people than what Oakland's gonna have at a game this year.
Those early games, Feidelberg is obsessed with that. He's been keeping an eye on it. He loves these games that have like 2,000 people because it just looks so bizarre in the ballpark when they show the crowd.
They don't care anymore. The owners get so much money off the TV rights. Like look at the teams all survived with cardboard cutouts. Like they don't care as much if fans are in the ballpark. They're making so much money either way.
Something has to shift in that regard because as a business, it's like, why am I going to really focus on that? Like, TV is where it's at, but you just lose there's such an element of a home field, Look
at what the Falcons were able to do. And like, it's a football team, so they don't play every single night, but to drop those prices for the concessions to the point that like now a family, like you can't even go to the movies anymore without dropping like $60 if you're going with somebody else. So it's like, you're trying to find somewhere where it's family friendly. And it's like, the 12 o'clock games are great, but no one wants to come out on those days. Like they have to do something to make the experience better. And like, I think Cohen does get that compared to like other people because he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't do it for the money. So it's like, okay, let's put this like fan experience in there. And like, I haven't been to the ballpark yet this year, so you guys can speak to it. But like the upgrades for the LED flat screens, and he's got like the facial recognition and like all this crazy shit that he's just like throwing at the wall. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like it's been a good time. I've only been there, twice now, 3 times now. And it's been like good crowd, good experience. I don't know if because I got there early or whatever, but it seems to be like the line situation isn't as bad. I used to remember being like lines out to the fucking subway stop to get in. All of it seems to have been a good experience. And also we saw this picture on Instagram of Steve Cohen with their new puppy Mookie. And if you look closely at some of those, Bobby Axelrod papers there's some plans or some blueprints or schematics or whatever for the Willets Point area. So one can only dream and hope that he's going to just take over that whole chop shop region and turn it into, a area of commerce. And not that I want it to become like a mall or something where it becomes very like just business and money and commerce, but I've just dreamed of having like a Wrigleyville type of situation where there's a whole neighborhood for your team. Even like in the Bronx, they have it with Stan's and Billy's. McFadden's was there for a minute and kind of was, Seven Line usually pops in over there, right, to do some stuff. But if we had
the Seven Line Saloon, there's the dream. It's already squatted on Twitter.
Saloon, that's what I mean. More of those, more of that stuff where you have, you go out early and you leave late and there's a pre and a post game spot and you can bring the kids and, you're not just trying to get your Uber through the back streets of the chop shops and stuff like that. So if Uncle Stevie turns it into, a whole section of Queens, that would be fucking amazing.
It's definitely going to happen.
What's the deal with that?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just waiting. Like we could probably take over McFadden's tomorrow, but I don't like that space. I think that the way that they built it, if you ever go in there again, you look through the window, like I worked at a bunch of bars. It was kind of like my background before the Seven Line was, the bar industry, working at clubs and shit like that. But like the layout of that place, I was just never a fan of it. If you remember, you walked in, you have to go up like 4 stairs to get around so you're kind of like crammed around the bar.
Hate that.
The reason being is because they probably don't want to smash through the ground level to run the tap lines. So anytime you go to a bar that's raised, it's because they run all the plumbing underneath the deck, basically. But I feel I've been to every ballpark in the National League now. And every place that we've ever tailgated or pre-gamed at, for baseball fans, you need an indoor-outdoor space. You can't just have indoors. Like on a nice April day when it's not 1 billion degrees out, do you want to be stuffed inside McFadden's in the dark, like hanging out? Like I feel like it needs indoor-outdoor. But I feel like they turned McFadden's into that like the COVID vaccine shot.
Right. It became like a vaccine.
Right. And now it's just sitting there. So I think that someone is probably going to take it over. I mean, they'd be dumb not to. Like, it's not going to be me, but someone's going to take it over. Eventually, though, across the street, for sure, it's going to be something that we've all hoped would happen eventually. When, I have no idea. I hope it's sooner than later. But, I think the plans I've seen, it's going to be like a neighborhood, like affordable housing. There's supposed to be a park there. Like a post office, a school, a library, like a whole neighborhood. And then obviously there'll be like retail and bars and shit like that. But hopefully, again, I'm not an old man by the time it happens. And I was going to say,
it's one of those things that
our kids.
It's either going to be like, Xanadu over in the Meadowlands that took like 1,000 years, or, I don't know, Uncle Stevie twists some arms and greases some palms. And next thing you know, we bulldoze the chop shops and, we get a couple things up. It doesn't have to be done right away. I'd like to see it in our lifetime where we can go out and enjoy the whole neighborhood.
If you do research on the family, I'm sure we all know this already. The baseball side of the Wilpons business was not where they made money. It's all real estate. So it's like Sterling Equities, like they still have a hand in Citi Field. I mean, they're still involved, obviously, as minority owners, I believe. And I'm almost positive the surrounding areas and like, look at UBS, like they had something to do with that as well. So I think that, I don't think Steve could just snap his fingers and be like, fuck it, I'm doing it tomorrow. I think that it's still going to have to be done through like the development team or whoever's in charge.
And listen, any big real estate project in New York has got to involve this guy and that guy and
who you're going to grease,
that family, and we're going to use these guys to do the cement and these guys to do the sanitation. Hey, it's not easy, but
my whole thing would be if I'm sure I'd be able to get investors, but get something where it's a space where we could have like an indoor, outdoor, downstairs, and then go up like 6 flights and have apartments and things like that, and run the Seven Line Saloon from the ground floor, obviously be open all year round. And with gambling now becoming, it's legal in New York, have some type of gambling aspect in there, have some kiosks where you could buy tickets to the game that day. Like there's a lot of things that you could do in a space like that. I'm just waiting for the prime location to pop up,
Right. No, I mean, it'd be crazy you should honestly be like the first person that they approach to do something like that. Like
they tried to approach, not them, but like, do you remember the story that came out? I actually only talked about it a couple years ago because it was enough years had passed. They tried to get me to go in on McFadden's. So like in the beginning, a couple years, there was like a 2-year lease or whatever it was. They approached me as being a partner with no money down. Like I was going to be basically like, you're a partner to help bring people here. And they were going to change the name. It was going to be not be McFadden's, but like the 7-line something.
Wow.
And I told them no, because I knew I wanted to do my own thing eventually. So I didn't want to like.
That's good for you, man. You stick to your guns, dude. You are a man of principle, dude. There's not a lot of people out there that wouldn't take a ownership for nothing. You know, I
have a journal with like shit written down that like we can't talk about on the stream, but eventually one day I might, put something out or whatever. But there's stuff that's happened over the years. I was like, man, this is a scary decision to either say yes or no to. And I said no to that one, but
it's smart because if that would preclude you from doing the right way down the road.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's hard. But when they do decide to do it, like, who better to just slide in that fan base
unless I'm like 90 by then, like who knows? We'll see if the next generation, the next generation has to take over.
As long as it's not a Jeff Wilpons situation, pass it down,
Well, that McKellar is open again, and it's EBBS Brewery, but that's Wilpon, like that's Bruce. So like Bruce, I guess when McKellar closed, a lot of the people that were working for McKellar then I guess started working for Ebbs, but they built this brewery that was in the ballpark, and they're like, all right, well, it's still there. Why don't we just take it over? So he's back, and that's who owns Ebbs. So we'll see, man. I need the outdoor space though. It's so important from being around like every ball. We've been everywhere, and everywhere we go, it's like the flow of like the fun aspect of it and enjoying the day is not being crammed inside on a nice day. You need the outdoor picnic tables or like a beer garden type feel,
Yeah, sure.
And I do think that in terms of the timing of it all, obviously, like you said, where you have to get the unions involved and everything, but then the politicians dealing with like de Blasio, I'm sure was like, pulling your eyelids out of your face. Eric Adams, like he had that like whole announcement about COVID at Citi Field, right? Him and Cohen are boys. We had the whole thing where he donated the money. So I think like if you have like the mayor's mansion on your side, I think, and you have the money on your side, right? And people want to get this shit done, it'll actually get done. Unlike 90% of the shit in the city that is just scaffolding for like, look at the scaffolding outside our fucking building. That thing is going to be there.
That's been there forever.
It's crazy, man. So I think we'll be all right there. And then, now I'm getting excited about the 7-line saloon. Like this is that's the breaking news of the day right here.
Yeah, right? I think that, I made that Twitter account like, I don't know, 10 years ago, just because the event.
So there's no like official plans. You're just sitting on that waiting.
I'm just waiting. Like, honestly, there's, I looked it up. If you go to like the 7linesaloon.com, like I buy domains for everything. So I don't know if I told you guys, I own Piazza Drive. I own Seaver Way. Like I buy shit and then just redirect it to the 7line.com. So it's like, and then it's $1. You go to like GoDaddy and buy a domain for nothing. But
I know one of my buddies, he just buys random cities coupled with random Olympic years, hoping that one day it hits. So he owns like Johannesburg 2048 or whatever.
No way.
Just hoping that they have to come to him and be like, here's $1 billion.
People used to do that with celebrities, and then they got in trouble. Like you could like extort BritneySpears.com.
Absolutely, man. That people who were on the early days of the internet were making bank doing that kind of shit.
Yeah, but if you go to that, like the 7linesaloon.com, I'm pretty sure I wrote a blog post, I don't know how many years ago, because if you guys come tailgate with us or next time you're over in that area, there is a dock right there, the World Stream Arena, and there was a bar on the dock years ago. It's very small, but like it was a kind of like like a shack style whatever, where they'd have like a few tables outside, live music, whatever. If we could do that, that would be sick. Like on the water, hanging out,
a little, like nautical type thing on the boat. A little like Jimmy Buffett type vibe.
Yep.
The tailgate's another thing. I know football is tailgating because it's one day a week and you make your year out of it. You pick one game and you go. So you turn it into a 16-hour affair. And baseball being as many games as it is, you can't do that. But I don't see why not, though, at the same time. It's like if you have season tickets and you go every day, sure. But for most people who make it out a few times a year, why not turn it into a tailgate type of event and do it up hours beforehand and turn it into, the same type of social event that a football game can be? Because isn't there some team in like I want to say like the Central that does tailgating? Did I make that up?
The Brewers do it pretty big.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
went to a
city.
Brewers tailgate. It's fucking incredible. It felt like I was back in college.
Yeah, so like, why not? It just takes somebody to do it. So
Kansas
there's a lot
City is insane. Kansas City. I don't know if you guys ever went to Kansas City. They share the same parking lot. The football, baseball, everything's right there.
Right.
And when we went, it's very freaking smart on the part of the team. They work with a local vendor. So if people are coming in and they want to tailgate, they send you like a PDF where you could rent tents, you could rent barbecues, you can rent like anything you want, and they bring it for you. They just tell you like, okay, here's your space, and they bring the stuff. And it was the rental of I had to like pay for the tent and shit, but the area that they gave us was free. So
oh
like,
my God,
because the parking lot is
that's what you get
gigantic.
when you have those downtown like centers. Philly has it with Xfinity Live. When you have all the stadiums in a spot with like those big bars, and you can do, with the way it is.
You got to look it up, man. Like it was insane. I rented a tent like the size like the Bordy Barn tent. It was gigantic.
Wow.
And then I paid a local DJ to come down. And then anyone who was driving, like local people, I was like, hey, listen, we have the tent, we have tables and chairs, we have a DJ, just like bring stuff. Like people will chip in, bring beers, bring whatever. And it was insane. I think we had 1,200 tickets to that game. And I think at least like 700 people came to the pregame. Like no one wanted to leave to go to the game.
Right. That's, the best, like when I go to a football game, I don't want to leave the tailgate.
Yeah.
That's the best sign,
It was crazy, man. It was like the best pregame party we've ever had that wasn't like at a bar. It was insane.
Right. Unbelievable, man. Just a little around the rest of the league. That situation with Madison Bumgarner yesterday was one of the weirdest fucking things I've ever seen. And I had a moment where everything crystallized for me. And I realized that umpires are just like asshole cops, like the bad cops who are like abusing their power. That's what that umpire was doing when he stared him in the eyes and rubbing his hand. That's like a guy who's pulling you over or shaking you down or trying to bait you into doing something. That was so unbelievably uncalled for and bizarre. I don't know, like, there's got to be some sort of.
Was there beef in that inning before that? Like, was Madison like barking at him over balls and strikes?
So that was the first base umpire. He was the crew chief. The home plate umpire was a rookie umpire, and there was a couple questionable calls. And Mad Bum was like jawing at him a little bit, but I don't think anything out of the ordinary. And then at least this is what Howie was saying, that like Bellino, I think was his name, or Celino or something like that, felt like, the need to, stand up for his crew or his guy. But there's got to be like some sort of past beef, because that was so weird. And I'm surprised that Mad Bum didn't go crazier. He held his hand. I know that was in slow motion, but still, he had his hand out there for a while. I would have yanked that back and been like, get the fuck out of my face.
Right after that.
Huh? Immediately.
Lost right after that.
Yeah, and that was the most.
He lost his mind, and then he was trying to fight off like 3 of his own guys just to get to him. I was like, let him go. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, that was the most justifiable ejection ever. I think everyone in the world was on his side, and that's just like the fact that umpires. I loved the other day. It was during the Mets game, right? Who was the umpire? He blew a call, and then as
he went like this, yeah.
Like, my bad, I blew that. And I know you can't really do that because it just opens the door to all these issues. But when it's blatantly wrong and it didn't end up affecting the game, to just be like, yo, my bad, dude. Or in that situation, have some umpire representative come out and be like, yeah, this dude's suspended for a game because what the fuck was that? I mean, that was one of the weirder situations I've ever seen with the hand stuff. It was nuts.
Fairchild, man. He had a fucking doozy. Yeah.
Harper's been the biggest like asshole like his whole time through the league. But I remember he got tossed. I think it was by Joe West. Like 2 innings into the game, and he gets in front of the mic, and he's like, "Yeah, because everyone's paying tickets to come see you fuck up the call." It's like, I'm the draw. Let's move on from this. If it's not egregious, what are we doing?
I mean, we've seen the Angel Hernandez game the other day. That was like he blew like 19 balls and strikes, and Laz Diaz had a bad game the other day. These are, I mean, it's one of those things. If you know their name, it's a bad thing. And there's several umpires where we know their names very well. And you can add this guy to the list because
it's also a lifetime appointment, which most people don't realize. So, like, they have the minor league system. There's some umpires that never make it to the show because these other guys just don't retire.
Yeah. There needs to be like term limits on politicians and umpires.
You see the video of who'd you just say? Not Joe West. Angel Hernandez.
Yeah, when
Hernandez,
he was
right?
pulling out of the park.
Yeah, pulling out of the parking lot, and a fan was like at his window, like, "You're the worst. You're freaking terrible."
And he just
like,
smiles
yeah,
and laughs because he's like a teacher with tenure. He doesn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
And Joe West was on PMT, and I didn't listen to it, but Dan said something like, Joe West truly believes he's never blown a call, and it's like, some people I guess can respect that, like. He never gives up his ground. He never apologizes. He's like, to me, that's so lame. Like, so lame. If you fuck something up, you should be accountable for it. It's crazy.
Angel
Hernandez
listening
yesterday.
suing the league.
Yeah, I know.
For being racist because they wouldn't let him call the World Series. And they're like, no, dude, like, this is the most important game. We're not putting you in
just
front of millions of people to watch you suck.
Yeah.
Wayne Randazzo has either a brother or a cousin that's an umpire. And they were talking about this yesterday, and how he said to Wayne, like, oh, have you ever had a conversation with your family member about, like, questionable calls, whatever? And he thought about it for a second. He's like, he's never had, like, he's always correct. Like, he like tried to, like, they were laughing about it, but he's like, yeah, my guys,
that's what they are. They're they're rule enforcers, and they like the power, and they're never going to admit when they're wrong, even when it's so blatantly obvious they are. I can't stand that, man. But by the way, Howie went John Sterling on us on that McNeil non-home run the other day. I was driving home, and he even paused and waited and then said it was gone. And I was like, all right, Howie definitely got it right. He doesn't get it wrong. And then he was like, wait, what? I was like, no, Howie got John Sterling. I can't believe it. No.
Yeah, same here. I was listening on the radio too. I think it was like the first inning or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Sterling's horrific, but Howie, for the most part's the man,
Oh, he's nails. He's so good. I actually like Sterling. I think his calls are like his little rhymes are so absurd. And then when he gets it wrong, the other day when he said that Stanton didn't throw the ball in, like he even did that, he was double wrong.
Well, you heard Susan, like, he's like, I thought that was gone. And then she said, like, well, it was caught.
Yeah,
like,
he caught the ball. He's like, what did I miss here? And he's like, well, he caught the ball.
Yeah.
Dude, I hate to say it. Our parents are all getting older. We're getting older. Like, these guys are starting. Even Gary has had a few where I'm like,
I know.
And we can't blame sitting at home anymore. I think our brains are all a little tired from the last few years, but it's getting ugly out there for a lot of the baseball now.
No,
so
you're
not
right.
just early.
You are right.
Kev, you also mentioned going around baseball. We have to mention this just because we mentioned the Reds. By the way, the owner, Bob Castellani, he's a legitimate enemy because he's one of the 4 that voted against Uncle Stevie because he's a cheap player,
that's right.
Right? So he didn't want the salaries going up.
Baseball gods coming at you already.
Did you guys see this story about the Reddit guy, the guy who posted on Reddit? He said there's a Reds fan. So we've talked about this with the Mets where you have the people who they had the paper bags over the heads, right? And did you see they came up to him during the broadcast as they're being interviewed by the TV network, and they were like, "Please take your bags off your heads." And that's like the lamest thing. It's the easiest way of protest.
Wait, like security did or something?
Yeah, security came down and told him to take the bags off. So Reds fans are like trying to fight the fight. And I said, Reds fans, I'm just going to tell you, since we were in this situation like until like 3 years ago, the bags and the heads don't work. The billboards don't work. The flyovers don't work. We've talked about this a million times. The protests outside, none of that shit works. I was like, do something different and it might work. I'm just telling you right now, save your time, save your money, save your energy. Don't do it. Well, on Reddit, there was a guy who posted the Cincinnati Reds Reddit. During the Friday May 6th game against the Pirates, I will be scaling the wall to defecate in the bed of the Toyota Tundra. If anyone take photos of me, I'd appreciate it. And then he also says, if anyone is down to also shit in the bed of the truck, leave me under the smokestacks in the top of the 4th inning. Cheers.
Dude,
that is a process that might work.
That might work. You know what is crazy? Because what we said, like, people used to always say, until you can convince fans to not go to the games, you're not going to affect these owners. But as we said now, that doesn't even really bother them. You'd almost need to like everyone would need to cancel their cable subscriptions or something, or somehow hurt them in the TV money pockets. But right now, there's really no way to get to these guys. You just have to hope that your guys eventually sell the team like we did. I mean, there's no way as a fan you can bother a billionaire, dude. They just don't give a fuck.
There's also no escape in Ohio because the Indians are in the same boat. They're both in complete tear downs, and it's like, fuck, we have
so you can't even point and be like, well, these guys are doing it. Unless, I don't know, though, maybe shitting in the truck will do it every time.
You literally shit on the advertisers because in the advertisers, like, well, I don't want my Toyota Tundra to be like the shit car, right?
Yeah, that's what we should start. Like, the Reds fans should start calling the stadium like Great American Shit House and the Toyota Shit Bed and just everything shit. Sponsors pulling the plug on all their money.
I'm actually kind of mad we never thought of this. Like, we're savages, right? Like, the Mets fans are savages. I love us, but like all 5 of us, we're fucking savages. We're part of this brood. That's why we love White Sox fans. They're just like us in that regard. And I hope, because this did bubble up, and Twitter, the tweet went a little crazy. We blogged it on Barstool. I hope this guy shits in that truck, because this is how you fucking fight billionaires.
Could you imagine in the dark years, the 7 lines sending guys up on top of the apple to take a shit? They're lifting their legs up, throwing them up there off the section. Shit on the apple. Fuck the Wilpons.
So we've made it there. We've made it to shitting in trucks. That's how we got on the episode with Darren.
I wonder what kind of jail time that would be. Like,
worth it. Probably a couple days, whatever, but you're making a fucking statement, man. But back to good things. Like we said, haven't lost a series. Also, I keep like a little check marks in my head of like where I'm at as a Mets fan, and I'm like, certain things where I'm like, oh, that's a level of confidence I've got back. With McGill, I was kind of like, I'm not sure about him. Now I've reached the point that every time he takes the ball, I think we're going to get a good start. That's like a new level of confidence. Anytime in the last several years we're facing the Braves or the Phillies, I've always kind of been like, oh boy, like here we go. This is a big series, and I don't know how it's going to go. I'm walking into the Phillies series like expecting to win, and I think that is a good sign, like especially for someone like me who usually skews pessimistic. Like, I think it's one thing to win; it's another thing to, as a fan base, expect to win. And I think that we're reaching that point. To me, around like 50 games is, I think, where you know where you are as a team. And I think, we're about like halfway there of like, this is a team that, you can expect to be better, more often than not. And I think that, with the Philly, like Darren said, the next 2 series, years gone by, I'd be like, all right, this is where we hit the skids and shit gets ugly. And I just not expecting that now. Maybe that's famous last words. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. But I feel like, we're better than the Phillies, and I think we should win.
I think the Mets are going to be the first team for 20 wins. I mean, they're only 2 away. So,
right. Where's the Yankees at?
I think 16 or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. I thought
they just played less games. But, I mean, right now we have 18 already, so why not? We'll see what happens. Yeah. But I think it works out with we're going to be in Colorado in a couple weeks, the 21st. So, I think the way it works out with the schedule, that might be Max Scherzer for us out there I said Chicago. Did I say Chicago?
We're going
Colorado. Yeah, Colorado. So that's Saturday night, the 21st. That should be pretty sick. Hopefully.
Does the 7 line partake in the local shrubbery and greenery out there in Colorado?
I don't personally, but when we went back in 2015, I think like half the section was like so fucking high. Like, so we get to the seats, I was like, wow, like everyone seems so fucking laid back here. Like, what's going on?
Like, he struck him out, man.
No, it should be really fun though. We have a big pregame party plan, and it's gonna be fun.
All right, good shit. Yeah. Anybody who wants to get tickets, are there even tickets available?
No, they're sold out. Like we have a forum on our site, so like if someone buys tickets and they can't make it, it's like a free forum on our website. On the bottom, you can see a button that says forum. But the pregame party is just like, no holds barred. Anyone that's in town, if you happen to be going to Colorado, even if you're not sitting with us, come to the pregame party. It should be a fun time.
Same thing with the tailgate, or is that only 7?
Yeah, there's no tailgate for that. That's just
but I mean,
anytime. Yeah, like at home, like whatever. Come to the marina lot. Let's just make that the meetup spot, even if you're not sitting with us. But cool. Yeah, next Saturday that should be fun.
We still got tickets available for the Phillies Barstool at the Ballpark for next Saturday, so go buy those. We'll tweet out the link. But definitely hit up that tailgate and get your 7 line merch and Gotta Believe merch and all that. Orange and blue thing is the pod, right?
Yeah, we do once a week. Julie and I, we just like, it's funny because we'll have like full episodes where like we're barely talking about the Mets. Like we read the comments, people are like, is this a Mets podcast? Because like you guys are Julia owns her own business. She's a dog walker. Like I race motocross. So like we'll have an episode where like the Mets suck and we're just talking about our lives for a little bit. But that's basically what the show is. Like
That's what it's about, man.
Yeah, we're not the X's and O's podcast, that's for sure. I'm
All
sorry, I'm
right.
getting some text. I don't know if you guys are hearing this, but I apologize if you are.
No, you're all good, man. Don't worry.
All right, cool.
We appreciate it. So we'll be ready for this weekend for any sort of pregame and postgame and emergency pods that may need maybe be necessary.
Another no-hitter, maybe against the Phillies. Those bum-ass fucking offense.
That bum ass lineup.
We got Max Scherzer going. Let's, you know what? We pitched a no-hitter because we didn't pitch to Kyle Schwarber that night. So let's just do that again.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to gamble this ahead of time, but if you guys want to put a little money down on Max Scherzer no-hitter on May 21st in Colorado, that should be pretty good.
We'll look into that. We'll talk to the book people in Colorado. That would be a fucking unbelievable.
Odds on that.
As always, you gotta believe.
Gotta believe.
Gotta believe.